Hi, I'm Nigel and I'm a bad teacher. To continue the series of what we can learn from our mistakes, let me tell you another story of why I believe that I have been a bad teacher. Many years ago, I was teaching a subject called theological method. The subject itself is quite difficult, and I had about 5 students in the class. And I found that the students were not relating to the readings, they were not interested, they found the readings very difficult, and the subject that I had planned and prepared for them was just not getting through. Now, it was a 4-week course, and I really tried in the first week, second week to get them interested in the course. But they were just complaining, oh, the reading is too much, it's too hard, how students usually complain. So what I did was that in the middle of the course, I completely changed the course. I removed all the readings. I said, okay, you don't have to do any of the readings, and let's change the subject and let's just focus on what you need. So taking this idea of theological method, I said, how is it relevant for you? How would it be relevant for your dissertations? And I said, come, let's talk about your work and what you need. And I thought that was a good thing. I thought I was finally getting through. I thought it was relevant for them. But at the end of those 4 weeks, so 2 weeks, first the older course and then the newer adapted course, I found that the students were not able to relate even with the new material. They were confused. They had so many more questions. They didn't know what I was expecting. And I kept trying to say, look, I'm just trying to help you, whatever you need. But they seem to be wanting a clear course or clear expectations for what is expected in an assignment. And when I said, no, it's up to you, they couldn't even relate to that, and they found that very frustrating. And as a result, so when the time came for the student feedback, the teacher evaluation, I got for the first time in my life, I got a really bad review by all the students. I mean, usually 1 or 2 bad reviews are normal, but all 5 students said something bad about the class. And the academic dean actually called me and said, what's happening? And I said, no, I messed up. I understand. And I did mess up. I felt that I hadn't planned properly. I misunderstood what the students really wanted. And when I tried to be relevant to them, it just looked that I was not getting through. And as I always believe, the teacher is responsible to get the students interested. And if the students are not interested, then the teacher must take some blame, if not all the blame. So when I went back and I reflected on that course and reflected on especially that class, I didn't get defensive. I didn't feel that, oh, I'm justified. I actually tried to figure out what went wrong. And I realized that I got confused between 2 concepts. One is value and one is relevance. See, as a teacher, and that time I was a young teacher, I was trying to be relevant. I was trying to meet the needs of the students. I was trying to appeal to them to say, hey, I want to help you. I want to meet you as to where you are. And that's a very noble thing. I think all teachers should try to be relevant for their students. Everything must be useful for them. Everything must help them. And I really tried to do that. I can see many teachers today, they entertain the students. They're very exciting. They're very lively. The students feel very happy sitting in this teacher's class, and they feel like, oh wow, wonderful class, wonderful class. But apart from relevance, something that they like or they relate to or they find useful is this word called value. And the concept of value is something precious, something that has value beyond what I may think. I may find no use for it, but it is still valuable. It still has some worth. And as a young teacher, I think I didn't have much confidence in the value of my material. I didn't believe that what I was teaching had significance beyond what the students felt was important or not. Because students will say, oh, I like this, I don't like this. Fine, that's relevant. We should try to meet them where they are. But beyond those concepts, it's also the responsibility of the teacher to add value to the life of the students. Something that they may not have thought about, something they may not think is worthwhile immediately, but it could be useful many years later. And that idea of value is what I missed. I was chasing after relevance so much that I forgot to focus on what is of substance that I'm giving to the students. What do I consider so precious that I would not negotiate? Is this reading so important that if they don't do this reading, they will miss out? It doesn't matter whether they like the reading or if it's difficult, but I believe in this reading so much that I give it to them for their benefit. And this idea of value, I find that teachers can learn from. I think you can push value to an extreme where teachers, and we know many teachers like that, who think everything that they say has value. So they just do their own thinking, their own teaching, very boring, very disinterested in what the students are thinking, and they'll say, whether you're interested or not, I am giving this, I believe it has value, and you listen. I think that's the other extreme, where we only think about value and we don't think about relevance, where we only say, oh, what I am teaching is so important, I don't care whether you listen or not, but this is what I believe is important, and I'm going to communicate it to you. The shift is, I believe that this is so important that I want to give it to you, but I want to do it in a way that you will see that it is also relevant, that you will see that it's not unconnected with your own life, that what is so precious has meaning and meaningfulness for your life. And then the students will take that value more seriously, will try to invest more time in learning what you say is valuable, because they can also see its relevance. And so that's the balance that I think that as teachers we should try to achieve. We want to give students value. We want to give something that's valuable, precious, something so solid that will impact their life. But at the same time, we want to do it in a way that is relevant to them, so that at this moment, they will not lose interest and say, oh yeah, 10 years later, I'll learn it 10 years later. Why do I need to learn it now? So they will see that, okay, I actually need to know this now. I can see why it is important now. And if I can achieve that, to show something valuable and show its relevance today, then I think I can encourage students to put in the extra effort, to work hard, to try to learn what I'm trying to teach, but also do it with joy, knowing that there is something at the end of it. So I hope you get it, this idea of value and relevance, and I think you get it. But let me end with a story of one person who taught me this, in the sense of not taught me like, as if said, taught value and relevance, but one person that I learned this from by seeing their example. This teacher is Kathy Hoffman. Now, all the people who are from the school that I studied will be whistling, ooh, because Kathy Hoffman was a very popular teacher. But when I was a student, Kathy Hoffman does not know this, I disliked her. I really didn't like her. Because, why didn't I like her? Because she used to give such bad grades. I never got more than a C when I joined her class. I would just get C+, C+. I was really a bad student in her class. And I hated that class because she was so mean, I felt, and she was so strict. And I didn't even want to be in that class, but it was compulsory English class. And I had to sit through it, and I had to just pay attention. But I really appreciated one thing about Kathy Hoffman, is that she believed in multiple assessments. By that, what I mean is that she didn't just say, okay, here's a test or here's an essay, you have to write it and that's what your grade is. No, what she did was that so that was a whole year course. So in the beginning, she was saying write essays and all that. But by the second part of the year, she said, okay, memorize, let's do some drama, let's do some presentations. And in those aspects, I was good at. I could remember lines. I could do some drama. So when I started learning through multiple assessment, my grades went up. Not by that much. I still got only a B in her class. But I found that her teaching and using multiple assessments actually helped me to improve. But actually, that didn't make me like her more. I still disliked her class. I really looked at her teaching and I said, why are you so strict? And I was so irritated. She doesn't know this. She's actually a very good friend of mine. Just letting you know, this is what I felt as a 10th standard student sitting in Kathy Hoffman's class. So the story doesn't end there. This is just, here's a kid who's sitting in a class, who hates this class, and who sort of manages to get a B by the end of it. And I'm like, okay, chalo, at least I didn't fail. But one thing that I remember that she was teaching us, so one thing she taught us was Shakespeare's play, Macbeth. And if you know the play Macbeth, it's very dark and grim. It's one of this, it's like Hamlet. May not be as famous as Hamlet, but it's a very dark and moody play, very negative. There's a lot of, it's just a very sad story, spoiler alert. It's a very sad story. But when she taught us that, and I used memorization and drama to understand this play, and I was like, I still get a B or I get a C or a B, what's the point? But she taught us some things about this play and about Shakespeare that when I was applying for my college entrance, I had an interview with the college and they asked me, who's your favorite author? And I hadn't read any book ever. So I was not a good student. I didn't read books. So the first thing that came to my mind was Shakespeare. I mean, he's my favorite author. And they said, okay, tell us something about Shakespeare. And you know what I told them? I told them what Kathy Hoffman had taught me in 10th standard. I told the interview committee about Macbeth. I told them about the downward spiral of the hero who starts at one point and then goes down. I talked to them about fate. And they said, oh, good. Okay. And I got admission in this college. For what? For knowledge that I learned in 10th standard. And that is what I mean by value. Something that I don't see is relevant, something that I don't like, something that I'm resisting. But I find that that very thing stays with me for much longer than I had anticipated. And it actually helps me forward in life. Macbeth has now become my favorite Shakespeare play. I love it. And I remember the lessons of Kathy Hoffman even in my 10th standard. And if a teacher can grab your attention to the point that many years later you're still thinking about what they say, that is value. But yes, relevance is also important. And Kathy Hoffman, you could have done better with me on relevance. But thank you for multiple assessments that actually helped me pass your class. But perhaps that is relevance, to meet the needs of the students, to help them to understand that, okay, you may not be good in writing or you may not be good in tests, but you could be good in something else. So meet the needs of the students, understand where they are, and help them to survive in your class, at least, till they let what you have taught, till it percolates and they really meditate on what you are teaching so that one day it bears fruit. I wonder how you have been as a student, whether you remember teachers who have given you lasting lessons that you remember today. How was it when they were teaching you? Did they keep the balance between value and relevance? Or were they only like, oh, this is only what's valuable and it was not relevant at all at that time? I wonder how it was for you as a student. But more importantly, for all of you young teachers, what would you want to be? Don't make the mistake that I did of just trying to impress the students and be relevant to them. Try to see what is of value and bring that to the students in a way that is relevant. So I hope you found this useful, and my thanks to all the teachers, especially Kathy Hoffman, for making me who I am today. Bye.